British intelligence notes that the Russian army has advanced 2 kilometers north of Avdiivka since the beginning of the offensive. Is that successful at this point? Yes, 2 kilometers is a lot, but let's find out by the usual operational and tactical indicators. So a regular mechanized regiment should break through the battalion tactical order. It's 3 kilometers wide, 3.5 kilometers deep. During the first week of the fighting they lost more than 130 tanks, more than 250 armored combat vehicles, and more than 200 artillery pieces. People were killed more than 5,000, this figure we boldly multiply by 3, we have more than 15,000. So, they lost a full-fledged, full-blooded division, and advanced on the indicators, well, somewhere on the break between a company and a battalion. These are not commensurate figures for the Second Army in the world. What is happening now near Avdiivka? How intensive can the Russian advance be? They will continue to advance, this is war. Yes, when they advance by 50 to 100 meters, occupy one stronghold, 1 or 2 positions, it does not have any critical importance in a given period of time. But in general, if we summarize, we can see a rather negative trend, and it is not surprising. Both Bakhmut and Avdiivka are bridgeheads that can allow the enemy to reach the administrative borders of the Luhansk and Donetsk regions. The enemy needs to encircle and capture Avdiivka, no matter what the cost. This is a combat task and a political goal. Now several general armies are concentrated there, the total number of personnel is more than 40,000. This is more, if we compare some phases of the offensive on Bakhmut, which is larger in area than Avdiivka. At the same time, the concentration of enemy forces and means in Avdiivka is 2.5 times greater per kilometer of the front than it was in Bakhmut. And of course, they will continue their offensive, pressing from the north and from the south. The enemy forces were able to enter the southern industrial zone. This is not a decisive moment in the sense that the industrial zone is already completely destroyed, but going in there they are in the palm of the hand for Ukrainian artillery. Because the AFU predominantly control the dominant heights in the western sector from Avdiivka. The enemy has yet to get out of this industrial zone, but so far they are not allowed to do so. The forces of liberation of Ukraine continue to block them there. But if they break through, they will also have to move through the AFU's defense lines and positions to the private sector. This is not an easy task, but they have an advantage in terms of infantry resources, and this allows them to advance a little at a time with immeasurable losses. Anyway, the situation is quite threatening and we just have to be realistic. Avdiivka today primarily fulfills the role of depleting Russian troops, as it was in Bakhmut. There is no need to talk about holding on to it until the last drop of blood. As soon as there is a threat of the enemy cutting the main logistical artery 05 to 42, we should think about withdrawing the garrison from the city itself. The adversary is currently in an offensive stance, and their casualties are expected to escalate due to adverse weather conditions. However, Russian military commanders have historically demonstrated a disregard for human life, and this pattern persists in the ongoing situation.